Good morning, everybody. Let's see, I think we're good morning on Instagram. I know we're live here, and I'm not sure what's happening on Facebook. Oh, there we are. We are live there as well now. Awesome. Good morning, everybody. How are you today? And it is Monday morning. It is start of week 4 of our quarantine here. Just getting a bunch of stuff off my screen, sorry. And we are really thinking about how do we get into this next week. So hopefully, maybe if you've noticed, it's our lighting look any better. We've been working with some folks, and they've been telling us like you need better lighting for all of your videos and live streams. And so we had now I have like a tripod with like a camera light on one side and then another camera on the other side. So we're trying to fix that up, and hopefully that makes it easier for you guys to watch. Is what we were told to do. Thank you for coffee this morning. There's my barista again. All right, so we are here. It's Monday morning. It's the start of week 4 of our quarantine. And first, just want to check in on how other people are doing there. So one, if you're with us, please send a wave, say hi, and we're excited that you're here. And I want to hear how your weekends went and how you all are doing today. You want to say good morning?
Good morning.
So here's what we thought about for today. One, I spent a lot of the weekend talking about perspective taking and kind of what's working, what's not working. Morning, Ashley. Glad you're here with us. And on Friday, I was talking a lot about the scheduling, the cooking breakfast, and then cleaning up, and then making lunch for the kids every day and then cleaning up, and then making dinner for everybody every day and then cleaning up. And you guys all came up with some really great ideas about how to make the kids make lunch, and thank you, how to get the kids to make lunch, how to get the kids to clean up and help schedule dinners and stuff. And I thought those were all fantastic ideas, and I went through the weekend after we talked on Friday, like, how come I can't pull this together? Why can't I get the kids to make lunch? We had that plan and they're not doing it, and I end up doing it, and what's going on? And then so I had to slow down and get myself to really take a look at our schedule on the weekends. And here's what I figured out, which was like eye-opening to me, because it was our first full week of getting through that. Good morning, Sheila. Glad you're here. And yes, Ashley, we are going into week 4 at this time. And here's what I figured out. Our kids' school schedule.
Sometimes it's your kids.
They're yours too. Our kids' school schedule that was put out by the school for online learning this past week allows them 30 minutes for lunch and recess, which is what they normally get at school.
Right.
And what I realized is there is no way for them to make lunch, eat lunch, and get a short physical break in 30 minutes. And so that's why and then clean up also. I think we've ended up like being the lunch people every day, which is like taking tons of time out of our work day and productivity. And that just like stopping for that moment and realizing the reality, it's not that I couldn't hack it, I couldn't get them to do things. It's made no sense in the last week for them to do it because they have to be on time to check in for their first post-class
with school
lunch.
Yeah, it's
post-lunch class.
If we want them to get some exercise, which the kids remind us that that's one of their longest recesses, right? Is lunchtime. Then we don't really have a lot of that time. And I think what's hard about that is that we're trying to do all those different pieces that are there, right? And so I think we want to make sure that we're supporting them for their academics. We want to support them for being able to get outside for the non-academic part. And so all those things combined is difficult. Plus, then we ask them, what do they want to eat for lunch, right? So we're like short order cooks, and that takes a while too, right? They don't get that choice when they go to the lunch line in school. Though they get, here's what we're having today. If you like it, great. If you don't, I hope you brought your own lunch. And so,
well, no, if they don't like it, they get a cup of noodles. That's always the backup
all right,
at school.
Or a cup of noodles, all right? And so I think that it's hard to try to get everything in. And so, and again, I think you and I were chatting about this before too, is that we feel like we're doing so many more things and we're not doing them well because we're doing so many more things. And that, at least when we had school, and I don't know about you, at least when, it was chaos in the morning, all right? We got them off to school, and then we got some semblance of mastery, some semblance that we could do something successful, some semblance of making a difference either at our work or with others between 9 o'clock and 3 o'clock before chaos resumed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now we don't even have that part, right? So we don't even have that bit of 9 to 6 mastery piece of feeling like good that we accomplished something as a professional, as a worker, as a parent, whatever that is. And so now it's just constant kind of like, oh my gosh, I'm not doing this part well, I'm not doing this part well, and boy, why can't we do this and this? And so I keep thinking like, wow, why aren't we playing catch in the backyard or playing basketball or doing some of these other projects that'd be really cool to do? I'm thinking like, how do we keep running out of time? I mean, the kids are with us all the time. Why do we run out of time? Well, they've got all this extra homework that they're doing. They've got projects that the teachers have assigned. They've got things that they want to do with talking with their friends because they no longer see them. And so, at school, at least they could talk to their friends during that 9 to 3 period. Now it's after school, so it's between 3 and 4. And so that's another time that we don't have. So
Come back
I
this
think
way.
it's hard.
Yeah. So, and then, so these are all these pieces that we're struggling with. And I don't know about you guys, but I then get into like, do I just complain about everything? Like, does nothing make me satisfied? Like, I complained when they didn't have online school and it was just so much work. And then we got online school and it's actually even more work now, not less. And part of we were told that the work would scale down, and I don't think it did.
We're waiting.
We're waiting. And they're trying to figure it out. Like, the school is not equipped or set up, or teachers, having a background in how to do this level of online school. And so I get that. And so, we spent part of the weekend. Grace had 6 assignments. This is our second grader, 6 different assignments that she had not completed during the week to turn in on Friday. So our goal was to get those done over the weekend. So she did like a math review test and a math test on Saturday. And then yesterday had like a religion assignment and 3 writing assignments. And there was one other assignment she had.
She had to build something with her book, right? So
yeah. So, but we got 5 of the 6 done. So we were really happy with that. But we didn't get to do a lot of playing. She and I wanted to like do a sewing project this weekend, and the boys and I wanted to work on, they have to plant a flower for a science project that they have to get done, and we didn't get to do that. And so I'm starting to look at, it's again back to perspective. I read a quote this morning from Rachel Hollis that said, this quarantine is a privilege. And so thinking about quarantine as a privilege really got me thinking this morning about how do we shift this week to look at the opportunities that we have been given to have all this time together and make it so we come out of it like, wow, look at this new thing we accomplished. We didn't just survive through quarantine and COVID-19, we thrived. We grew closer as a family. We did these projects. The kids learned these skills. I could definitely tell you their bathroom cleaning, vacuum cleaning, and their folding and putting away laundry skills have improved.
More opportunities.
That's gotten better. And I want them to learn a few more things that are more fun and house-based or project-based around things that we can do. So that's kind of where we're going into this week, is thinking about, yes, they still have to do their schoolwork. They've got to turn in their PE logs and do all their assignments and take their tests this week. And how do we figure out how to build time in for us as a family?
Yeah.
And more, so also just part of school are like art assignments. Like, they have art assignments and nobody's done art in now 3 weeks,
right?
Because it's always falls to the bottom, or music or dance that keeps falling to the bottom,
right?
So we got to build more joy. Go.
Right. And so Jacqueline, thanks for the shout out, and she said that too, that this is the exact topic that she's talking to a lot of her other friends about. I think what's hard is that we keep looking for how do we keep helping our kids, how do we help them accomplish some of the goals that they have, what the schools have. And in doing that, we lose sight of us, right? As parents, as competent parents, and as professionals that we're trying to do, and as workers that we're trying to do. And so I think that we've got to find a balance that's there, because we start to get frustrated that we can't do all of these pieces and give all the kids the attention that they need well. And so we just feel like we're spinning and spinning, that everything that we do is touched. And it's okay. It's not what it used to be, though. The quality of work that we're doing for our jobs, not as good. The quality of work that the kids are getting from their school, not as good. The amount of time they're spending outside, not as good. So we kind of feel like they're kind of stuck in this like tornado or this spiral that we just can't get out of. And so I think that
Yeah.
one thing we want to talk about is how do we start to build some of that mastery, right? And that's what
build mastery and accumulate more positives, right? Which is part of from our emotion regulation skills in DBT and DBT Steps A of not just figuring out how to decrease the negative experiences and change your behaviors, but how do we go to the other side and really work on accumulating more positives in the short term and the long term in our lives, and building mastery as our two skills. And we thought we'd talk about that today. That's kind of where we are.
Yeah.
Because part of these skills are part of what we call the ABC please skills. And we talked about and taught the please skills on Friday. So if you weren't with us on Friday, definitely go back to the Facebook page and watch Friday's video about the please skills. And by the way, Ashley and Trisha and maybe others did this as well, made these awesome poster boards for please posters that they put up in their houses. If anybody else did that, please share that. We've been trying to work on that for about a year of getting some posters made and being able to produce those and distribute those. And every time I still love what other people produce at home that fits their family and their lifestyles. So those were great. So thanks for putting those together. So let's talk about the accumulating positive in the short term and long term, because I think these are skills that really, really, really are incredibly important this week, this month, this time, this quarantine. I don't know how long it's going to last at this point. And the A for accumulating positives, there's markers right behind you. Okay, Jim's going to be our artist again.
All right. You can read
let's see. And let's see. I think with Facebook, you'll be able to read it right side up. But I worry that with Instagram, I don't know how to make it so it's right side up. So we'll just try to tell you what it's saying. I think you can see that a little bit better now. So accumulating positives in the short term. First, that refers to doing something every single day for at least 20 to 30 minutes that brings you joy, right? Really doing something every single day that brings you joy. And there's like pleasant event schedules. If you Google pleasant event schedules, I'm sure there's going to be lists and lists that come up. And there's some that work for people and some that don't. And there's kids versions and adult versions that you can look at. We have some in our manual that really are kid and student focused, the things you can do in school and out of school, but doing something every day to bring you joy. And the thing is, you might not actually experience joy the first day you do it or the second day you do it, but when you do it every single day, like making deposits in the bank, it increases your joy over time, right? And kind of really looking at that. And so for us, part of for you, joy and something that brings you joy every day is your ability to run. Right, that's a accumulating positive for you.
Right, and it feels like I've accomplished something, right? So it's not a big thing, right? Because I've been doing it for most of my life. It's just a small smidgen of time that I get for me that I get to put in the bank and get to put in the bank, right? And so after a while, it just begins to accumulate.
Right, and running is not, and exercising is not a positive, accumulating positive for me. That's going to be a build mastery, which we'll talk to later. So that's one of the important points, is because something that brings joy to somebody else might not bring joy to you. Things that bring joy to me is sitting in my room last night after I put everybody to bed, and I turned on the TV and I watched 25 minutes of part of an episode of This Is Us, which is
does nothing for me.
It does nothing for you. It's a rare event that I sit and watch TV, or I have the time to do it. And just this weekend, after kind of a really tough week of trying to get all their stuff done and not feeling like I had a lot of mastery in parenting, or more as school parenting, right? Teaching them that I just needed those moments to just sit in my room with the door closed and watch 25 minutes of an episode of a TV show that I really like, that I rarely watch on that. And so that was accumulating a positive for me yesterday. And this week, for all of us, we're going to be intentional about what is something that's positive that you want to do, that we want to help them identify and to really work towards that. So that's the accumulating positive in the short term, doing something every single day for about 20 minutes. And here's the thing, I think you have to plan it.
I think, say the same thing.
Oh, good. Go ahead. You want to say more?
So I just think you should create a list, right? So we do have a list in our book that it goes along with the curriculum. And I think, though, planning it is really how you're going to make it happen, right? So I've got a plan that I'm going to get up at 5:30 so I can get my run in the morning, because I tried to do it over the weekend after, think, oh, I'll just sleep in, I'll just do it, I've got the whole day. Guess what? I didn't go running at all, right? Mm-hmm. And so too many things happen. So I think you have to plan it. So maybe a list of 5 to 10 things. Let's call it 10 that you could do. Just, you don't have to do all, just one of them each day for yourself. That's something that you can put in the bank. That's a positive that you did, right? So some of those short-term things that you can do, maybe 10 of those. Make a list.
Right. And this can be like a Zoom social time with some friends. It can be going for a walk by yourself or with your family. It can be sitting on the couch with your pet, with your dog or your cat, and just having time of just being present and, playing with your animal, playing with your babies if you have them. It doesn't have to be a big thing that you're going to go do, because here's the thing, we don't have big things we can go do. We're all at home. It could be, for some of the kids, it's, 20 minutes of playing a video game with their friends, right? And doing that. Just something that that you're making sure you create opportunities for joy every day. And I want you to schedule it, because if you don't schedule it, it decreases the likelihood that it's going to happen, right? Because then you're not intentional about it. So getting intentional about joyful experiences and paying attention to them every day is the first part of accumulating positives in the short term, making those daily deposits in the bank.
And you might have to think about that, right? It might not come automatically to you about what those things are that you actually get enjoyment out of, right? And so I did put up cooking there, because sometimes people like to do cooking. And so that would not do it for me either, right? And so
I wish it did. I really wish it did.
So there are things that I need to do for me, right? There are things that I know Liz likes to do, and I just let that go. So, if she wants to watch TV, then I'm like, okay, that's her time. She's accumulating positives, and I try not to intrude upon it. Mm-hmm. So I think that you want to be able to do those things.
Here, I just pulled out the manual that we have in our pleasant events list here. I'm just going to read a couple of them off there, right? Like soaking in the bathtub, okay. Thinking about school holidays or vacations, relaxing, watching a movie, listening to music, going running, reading a magazine, right? Maybe this is the time where you have those magazines that you haven't read at all, or, I buy the, what are they called? Non-judgmentally. What's the non-judgmental word for the People magazines that I watch and stuff?
Interesting magazines.
Interesting. Like all those social media things, right? Maybe ordering one of those or reading one of those online and just spending time with it. Having a quiet night, cooking good foods, writing, drawing, doodling, talking with friends, singing, all these things, making a gift for someone, baking, planning a party. I'm looking at things that we can do at home, doing your nails, like a mani-pedi at home, time with your kids, going for a bike ride, writing in your diary or journal, making time for that, things that just help bring you joy, watching reruns on TV of your favorite childhood show. So kind of thinking about some of those ideas, we could generate that. And if others have ideas, the things that you're doing every day for joy, throw those into the comments so we could share those, because we always sometimes need more of that.
And so I like this. So let's promise ourselves it's Monday. It's Monday morning. Let's try to make a list of 10 things, put up on your refrigerator, put it somewhere where you're going to see each day. Let's do one of those. So you said that was the short term.
Yeah.
And what about long term?
All right. So then post, and I want you to, if you make those lists, post them on our page so we can see them and we can start sharing them with others. I think this is a time where we're coming together as a community to share things. And so I love the please posters people are putting up. Put up your list of what you're going to do for accumulating positives in the short term.
How about long term?
So long term. Okay. Long term is about thinking about what are your wise mind values and priorities. What are the things that you value in your life, in your family, in that way? And how are you going to get yourself to work closer towards accumulating those more long-term values? And so here's what I'll kind of explain by what we mean, and I'll show some of the lists. But it's really thinking about how do I think about my values? And for us, right now, I'm thinking about my work values, not just the family values, but my professional values, and also our personal family values in the long term. And what do we think about? And so family is one of our highest values, connection and time together, which we're doing a lot of here. But I think about in the long term, what are some of the things that would get us closer to living more in line with our family values? And that would be maybe doing a family project, right? Something that is going to help us really get on that, keeping our relationship strong and figuring out. So here's an example. On Friday, we talked about our limits on screen time. And I know lots of people have different values and experiences with how much screen time their families get and their kids get, and what they do with that. And we have lots of limits in our house around video games, just because we know from our wise mind perspective, too much video game time has an impact on the emotion regulation of our kids.
And the research behind it too.
And there's research behind it, and we see it, and they actually get that too, and they experience it, and so that's with that wise mind value in sight around limiting screen time and video games. Also, trying to look at our wise mind values around strengthening our family.
Right. And so
I'm really looking at, our boys. I'm so grateful that we have two boys that are similar in age, are spending a lot of time interacting with each other and playing video games. And because they don't play a lot and I'm not technologically savvy and can't actually watch any of their video gaming because it makes me pretty nauseous pretty quickly, they have always been asking, can we get a second Xbox so we can play split screen on games and play against each other, or can you get us another Xbox Live account? And I'm always like, one, I don't buy video games, I don't buy gaming systems, and I'm not going to buy you another account. Everything they have, they've taken birthday money and put that together over the years to have. And then, this weekend I decided they've been doing a lot of schoolwork, they've been doing a lot of house cleaning, that okay, I want you guys to be able to play together, because I watch them where they take turns playing. And then they have their friends online and they're taking turns with one account playing, but they never get to play together. So I was like, all right, let's figure out what we need to do to get it so you can have split screen and you can play against each other with your friends.
Yep.
Again, trying to build their social connections, both with their friends and with each other. And we figured out we didn't have to actually buy anything else. Xbox changed their platform, I guess a year ago, somebody told us, and now they could just have two accounts, which we already had, but I had to set it up. So
right.
This long story as to how we were able to say, okay, you can have more video game time, but where you're playing together,
right,
as a way of increasing their family connection, while not totally throwing out all of our values about technology.
Right. Right. And so that was a good synthesis, right? So you're able to find the dialectic in that piece that's there. All right. So you talked about family projects as one thing that we value because it doesn't involve screens. It's everybody has a role to play, right? We've done board games quite a bit too. We've been kind of doing this.
We still can't beat Forbidden Desert.
Forbidden Desert game, so which is great, right? I'm glad that we haven't won because we want to keep going back, right? So it's something that the whole family kind of is interested in doing. What else? So we've got one thing there. I'll put in the games, but what else for a long-term accumulating positives that maybe we can provide just as an example?
Right. So I'm thinking, so that's on family. I think, professionally, one of my long-term goals is, to get this book writing. We're writing a parenting book and trying to work on that, and to be productive in that during this time. And I'll tell you, it's been really, really hard for me to find time to sit down for more than an hour to work on writing. And I don't, when I'm writing, I can't just sit down and go. I need to understand where I was. I need to synthesize my thoughts. It takes me a few hours and a big chunk of time to really pull it all together so that I can get moving on where we are on this project.
Right.
And so one of my long-term goals for this period of time is to really get writing and working on this parenting book. A lot of the things that we're all talking about here is going into it. So I'm thinking about it every day. I'm just not putting it on paper. And so part of that being a long-term goal and value is stepping back and saying, okay, what are the steps I need to do? And how do I start scheduling my time?
Right.
That doesn't have to be at 5 a.m. or 9 o'clock at night, because I don't function cognitively well at either of those times. And I'm used to functioning more and working more between 9 and 3. So how do I start making that a priority and writing those short-term goals of first this week, I'm going to work on it for, 2 hours today.
Yeah. And I think
again, back to scheduling it. We have to schedule.
Right. I was just going to say, you have to be diligent about it, right? Because right now we're still trying to figure out this school structure now that, our school has finally completed its first week of online schooling. I don't think it went nearly like they thought it would. I don't think it nearly went nearly as well as we thought it would, right? So we've got to figure out this schedule right now, right? And then what if you're thinking about it, can you jot down a few things in the first week? And in the second week, when the kids get more settled in, can you steal an hour or half an hour to start jotting down notes and stuff for yourself? And so I think it might be just a work in process. The thing is, you've got to see that the whole time, right? You've got to say, okay, working on my book, I've got to be able to just, what am I doing this week? What do I do next week? What can I do the week after, right? And so it's just start making bigger and bigger goals, just like you would for a workout, right? Well, the first time I'm going to do 5 reps. The next week I'm going to do 7 reps. And the week after that, I'm going to do 10 reps, right? And so I think that you have to be planful about trying to be able to accumulate that long-term.
Right. And so this is where
positive.
I think planning is so incredibly important on this. I used to have lots of habits prior to 4 weeks ago. You know, I'd get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, I'd go to the gym, I'd work out, I'd come home, I'd write in my journal, I'd do my gratefuls, I would plan my day with my schedule of what are the tasks I'm going to do short term and long term. And I would do that every day.
Yep.
And since we've been home for these 3 weeks, I've totally stopped doing that.
Correct.
And now it's like, I know my kind of intention for this week is to get back to filling out my Start Today journal, filling out my daily planner, and looking through each day, am I accomplishing this or not, and what got in the way?
Right.
And so I want you guys to all think about that. Maybe it's even in the 5 minutes right after we finish the live stream that you sit down and say, okay, what are the tasks that, you know, I need to get done today, you know, or want to get done today, like 3 or 4. And then what's also the bigger long-term goal that I am working towards? So you have that idea of here's what I'm working toward. And then here are the tasks that either I have to get done because they're just daily things that may not be relevant to that bigger goal, but also what's one thing I'm going to do today that gets me closer to that, right? So every day figuring out something you're going to do on that, I want you to think about.
Right.
There. All right. Let's just talk about building mastery before we finish today, because I think this is one.
And we can come back to it too. I know that we only have about 5 minutes left.
Yeah, this is one that I think is hugely important. And I love the things that Jacqueline and Christine have said that they're doing also for accumulating positives, right? That Jacqueline has a text stream with her friends that they send 3 gratefuls to each other at the end of every day. Christine's reading books, and not just one. She's got 7 going at a time of all different topics, and that's great. And then Karina, we're so glad you're here, you know, and listening to us as well. So here's the thing about building mastery. Building mastery is about doing something that you might not particularly enjoy while you're doing it. And when you're done with it, you have that sense of accomplishment and competence and confidence for completing it.
Right.
And that's where the joy comes in, right? And so, like, for me, that is always the putting away of the laundry, right? And for us, all of the laundry folding and stacking and sorting happens in our bedroom, our master bedroom, on our floor. So the putting away of it is probably one of the household tasks that I dislike the most. And I don't do it because I enjoy it. I do it because when it's done and that task is done and I can see our bedroom floor again, that's where my joy comes in. So think about activities that are like that for you. What are things that you don't particularly enjoy doing, but when you're done, that is, right? The other one is exercise for me. I don't particularly enjoy exercise. I don't like running. I trained for and ran my first half marathon last year, and everybody kept saying, by the time you get to the half marathon, you're going to enjoy running. And I want to be very clear, I never enjoyed the running. It never happened. I ran 3 times a week for, like 5 months and ran the half marathon. But I did build a lot of mastery. Every time I completed a run, that's where the joy and the competence came in. It was not actually during the run. During the run, I had to do lots of distracting with music to just get through the run. Right. And a lot of mindfulness.
So I think the idea behind that building mastery is we want you to again, do some of your lists here that we talked about for the accumulating positives. And some things, challenge yourself a little bit to that next half step, right? So if you do run, maybe you're running 2 miles in the morning or 2 miles in the day, maybe try this week to do 2.5 miles or 2.25 miles, right? Just kind of slowly start to build that up a little bit. And if you can find a way to get through that, even if it's painful, you got this sense of accomplishment, right? That you're actually doing something that's a little bit more challenging, a little bit harder, right? If it's reading a book, maybe it's going to be a book and a quarter this time, or maybe it's instead of it being a 200-page book, it's a 250-page book.
Maybe for you, it's like getting a cookbook out with a recipe and making something you've never made before using a recipe.
Yeah,
That could be a building mastery activity for you. I think that would be so important.
P for painful is not in this, right? So
right, but that could be something you could do, or it could even be like, I want the kids to practice cooking, because they do, like, everyday small things like chicken patties and quesadillas and grilled cheese they can make and canned soup. But what if we got them to do choose a recipe and do that? That would maybe have a little bit of joy during it, but there'd also be lots of frustration.
A lot of cleanup
and clean up on that. But there would be that sense of building mastery for that we got them to do it in the end.
I think that you're being ideal, right? So keep in mind the age of those kids, right? And keep in mind how much work that's going to be for us as well. So accomplishment.
Right, but that's possibly, my point, right? We might not have joy during it, but that competence of helping them to do it, or maybe it is for them afterwards. Like, do you notice I really would like other people to cook in our house?
Yeah.
So that would bring me joy
I
if people do that. So that's doing things for other people.
So with that, I know that we're beyond our time here a little bit. And so we did put the C up there, right? So we'll talk about that the next about coping. How do we cope ahead with when our emotions get kind of really strong and we see a situation that we sometimes get stressed about, right? And so we'll talk a little bit about cope ahead on Wednesday. With that, we want you to have...
I just want to do a quick recap.
Go ahead.
All right, so here's the thing. When we get off today, accumulating positives in the short term and long term, go make a list of at least one thing you're going to do every day to bring yourself some joy. All right. Long term, think about what your kind of long term goal is. Could be 6 months. It could be for the next month of quarantine. What's the goal? And what's one or two smaller things you're going to do this week to get you closer to that goal? Right. And then think about what are some activities that maybe you're avoiding or you don't want to do, or just are frustrating to you, that when you do, you're going to help build mastery. I want these things to be about putting deposits in the bank, because the more deposits we have in the bank, when our emotions get high and we have withdrawals, we have backup, right? We're not going to completely deplete our bank account when we have those withdrawals. And by the withdrawals, I mean just like emotion dysregulation, difficult days. We're not going to be completely depleted.
Yeah, we're not going to be bankrupt, right?
So make sure you're making deposits in the bank. When we get off, please go and just make that quick list and then share them with us if you want. And we can look at them. We'll work on our lists as well.
All right.
All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Please share, tell other people about this if you think it's helpful. And then we will be back on Wednesday morning at 7 a.m. Seattle time. All right. Have a skillful day and go build some positives. Bye.